Hi, my name is Murray Mazaris. I'm with the State Board of Education, and in the studio here at the State Board of Education with our incredible assistant, Jerry Record, who is the genius in making these wonderful productions possible. The reason for our meeting here today is to share with you some of the critical aspects about reporting with regards to Title I, Part D, otherwise known as ND funds, for neglected and delinquent youth in the state of Utah. This is a federal source of funds. It is supplementary to and assists the youth and custody funds, which are state-funded source of funds. The purpose of today's meeting is to really talk about reporting. It's sometimes not the most exciting thing in people's minds, but it is nonetheless still a critical aspect of doing our jobs. I'm going to talk about the 5 W's, the who, the what, the why, the when, and the where. Maybe not in that order, but nonetheless, I'll be covering those key areas. So who is to report? Anyone, literally anyone who receives any form of federal funds from this source, the ND funds. So if you received any form of grant, any form of funds through your local education agency, or otherwise known as a district, you are responsible to report on this particular form that we're going to be sharing with you. For some of you, this is not new. For some of you, it is new. So I'm going to be pretty detailed, enough for those who are new to know what's going on, and those who have been around the block a while to double check to make sure what you're doing is correct. So why do we have data reporting? Number one, well, it's actually 3 major reasons. The feds want to report, the federal U.S. Department of Education wants us to report, the state wants us to report, and citizens who pay taxes in those 2 categories also want us to report. There's an accountability. We have taxpayers, we have auditors, and other vested and interested parties who want to know that they are not being misled, misinformed, and therefore it's important that they have the right to be 100% informed about what we're doing. So we have a legal responsibility, a programmatic responsibility, a financial responsibility, a fiduciary or trusted roles to those who have given us this responsibility and paying us to do what we're doing. The federal legislators and the state legislators do look at this information. If you have any doubts, watch the news reports about us or anyone else in education or anything where public service is a factor. How much of a difference do we make is another reason why we do this data collection. Do we really know that we're doing the best we can? We're not operating from tradition or that's the way we've done it forever, unless you're really prompted by the data to suggest that what we're doing now is correct. Sometimes people operate with the flavor of the month or the good idea of the year. That's maybe nice, but is that really what the data says that these innovations are doing? Is giving us better outcomes, giving us better results, giving us better inputs, throughputs, and outputs. We're not just doing this because we're getting paid, but there is a larger reason for us to do this. Hopefully, we want to make a difference. And how do you know you're making a difference? Really? Is it my cat's smarter than your honor student? Or when a statement like that is made, how do you really know? What's the data showing? What proof do you have? What evidence? What key indicators do you have to support what you or we collectively are doing? Are we doing our best? Can we do it faster, smarter, cheaper, better? I mean, all these things we can look at to give us a good sense as to what we're doing in our work. Now, what is to be reported? Okay, we've covered who and why, now the what. The key elements of this report are broken down into what we would classify as 4 major categories, well, four pages of 10 categories. The elements of any report, whether that report is from the Division of Juvenile Justice Services or whether from the Utah State Board of Education or the 2 of us combined, we are responsible giving good quality data. The reporting period, as this illustration shows, is from the beginning of the school year, which in this sample reporting situation is August 16th to 17, as you see in that top row, and goes through to August 15th. So basically the beginning, August 16th of 2017 through to August 15th of 2018 is your reporting cohort. That's the group of students you're reporting in that time period. Now the reporting period is bigger than the reporting cohort. So let's say the students came in on August 16th, 2017, and they left November 25th, 2017, you're now responsible to follow those individuals in terms of transition reporting requirements for at least 90 days. So in this case, that would push you out from November 25th to December 25th, January 25th, February 25th. February 25th would be your last day of reporting on that individual in terms of transition activities. Now, let's push that scenario even a little bit more crazy. Let's say the student left on the very last day of your school year, your reporting cohort. So you're talking now August 15th, 2018 is your last day in your cohort of your student body for that school year. On that very last day, some student transitioned out. Well, you need 90 days in order to do some follow-up on that individual. So August 15th, September 15th, October 15th, November 15th. And you can see that gives you another 12 days roughly to complete the report, factoring in that last student who left on the 15th of August of that year. Therefore, as always, on November 27th of every year, think of that as Thanksgiving weekend, that report is due to me at the State Board of Education. Okay, on the report that I'm going to show you right here and then will be brought up by Jerry on the screen, there is, in this page 1, you can see that there's your reporting on neglected students, juvenile corrections, day skills intervention, Gemstone, and the Adult Living Transition and Achievement Group, in other words known as ALTA. And horizontally in this particular section, you list the number of facilities and the average length of stay of those students in those different categories. But when we go to the vertical, we combine Gemstone and DSI together in one column. So if you have both of those activities or facilities in that service in your area, you have to combine the Gemstone and DSI together in one column for the reporting purposes. Okay, now when we go to section 2, that's the section here with the green arrow. You'll note there's right where the green arrow is a number 2, a 52, and 11. Note that there's a difference between that number and the number above. In terms of long-term care, we expect that virtually every student that's in long-term care will be in the setting more than 90 days. So this particular row is any student who stays more than 90 days in a school year in your facility. That number goes in that particular column. So you'll note that the long-term care, the juvenile correction, has 52 students in total in line 1 and 52 students in long-term care. So they have, all of their kids are in long-term care. Whereas in this particular case, this example, next to the green arrow, in DSI and Gemstone, of the 30 kids that were in that facility, only 2 were staying longer than 90 days. I mean, I'm making this up. It might be fewer numbers, it might be greater numbers. That's for you to plug in there. To continue the illustration, I'm just going to focus on one column rather than making it really confusing. I'm going to focus on the one column rather than 3 columns. Be sure your numbers always add up. The other point I'd like to bring out is students with disabilities. We would expect that to be a fairly large number because a lot of the kids that are in our settings have either diagnosed or undiagnosed disabilities. That also leaves a responsibility to the local school district to help diagnose kids who may have 504s, IEPs, and things of that nature. Now, on the pinkish or mauve arrow, you'll see 33. That's a number of non-Hispanic Latinos. That number must equal this number on this page. This is section 4. That bottom number must equal this number on this particular category in section 3, row 2. Just take time to, you may want to take time to re-watch this piece to make sure you understand it correctly. Anything more I can say would only be repeating it. Back to long-term student care. Okay, you will see on the screen section 9 and section 10 dealing with student performance data. You remember back on page 1 where it illustrated long-term care, 2 students, 52 students, and 11 students. You'll notice that the numbers on the bottom of these 2 sections match those numbers I just read to you. So what you're going to be doing with the long-term care students, obviously by law, they are to have a pre-post and post-test, excuse me, and what you're doing is you're going to illustrate in section 9 and 10 how well they did in terms of any forms of academic gains or losses. On page 3, you'll note that this is the section of student outcomes. And Jerry will illustrate this for you in a moment. You'll note that on line 4, the one that's highlighted in green, that there's a 50 and a 23. You'll note, therefore, that rows 2 and 3, which one might think should add up to 4, really don't. The reason for that is that someone may have received some academic credit but received no CTE credit. And therefore, those two lines, 2 and 3, are not one and the same or belong in the same. I'm not quite sure how you can properly illustrate this, but just don't add them together. You find out all the kids who had academic credits and all those who had CTE credits, and that number is the combination of what you'll see here in row 4. Okay, that's it. Like I said, please be diligent in gathering and reporting your data. All successful organizations use data in their critical decision-making processes. I don't know of one online company that doesn't use what they call analytics. And essentially, that's what we're talking about here, is data used to help us to analyze what's going on, and to help make course corrections, improvements, and so forth. I mean, how many of you drive down the highway and cover up your license? Cover your license plate. That's illegal. Cover up your dashboard and don't look at your speed limit. I mean, that's a good way to invite some taillights that have a kind of a red swirl to them, and paying some hefty fines. So go forward. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call here at the State Board of Education. As I said, my name is Murray Mazaris, and my cell number is 801-554-6408. Again, to repeat, 801-554-6408. Thank you for your attention.